Welcome to a new video. Let's take a look at some new malicious compliance stories. The first story is called, She Not Only Lost Her Job. A few years ago, I worked for my college bookstore. It was great at first. But then this one person started working there. She was not prepared to manage the store. She hired 5 people to stock, cashier, work the floor, etc. instead of 2. She blew through her entire payroll budget in less than 6 months. Someone came from the main office to help her learn the ropes, and she learned nothing. She even had me do her daily reports, that I shouldn't have been allowed to do at all. And she never learned how to do them. She was super lazy and just bad at her job. The reason she blew through her payroll budget is that she didn't want to be on the floor at all. Anyway, I asked her in March if I would be working or not, so I would have time to look for summer work. And she told me that I would be working all summer. I had just moved out of my parents' house, so I really needed the money. May rolls around, and she tells me she can't have me for a single day. I was mad and panicky, but I figured it out and moved out just fine. In August, I come back with a sprained toe. It was really visibly bad. My toe was entirely bruised. I asked her if I could work on the daily reports, which involved sitting. She said that she needed me up front, on the register. I asked if I could sit on a stool, as standing hurt. She said that was unprofessional, and that I had to stand. Just a little note here. I didn't get sick pay at this job. But if someone called in sick, the company policy was to let them go for 1 day without questions. After that, you could start to ask what was up, maybe request a doctor's note. Start of the first malicious compliance. I faked a cough, and said, "I'm sorry, idiot, I'm too sick to work. I think I'm gonna go home." She immediately started to backtrack, and she said I could sit on the stool if I needed to. But I decided it hurt too much to work. I had thrown the real rules in her face. There was no rule against sitting at the register, and she had to let me go home. She was stuck on the floor all day. The next day I worked, I looked at the schedule, and I had no shifts beyond that day. She had even taken my name off the schedule. It was frustrating and petty as hell. I found out later that she thought I talked too much. I was a goddamn cashier. It's my job to talk to people. It didn't get to me for long though, since I was already done with the behavior at the job. I was back in school, so I didn't really need the money as I had a student loan, and I was starting my thesis. I decided enough was enough. So I started the second malicious compliance. Toward the end of my shift, I requested a meeting with her and the assistant manager, who had been telling me I should escape as soon as possible. He was cool. The idiot manager told me that she couldn't have me working often, but that I could come in once a month to do the daily reports. I told her that I was giving my 2 weeks notice, as I had schoolwork to do. It was pretty clear she wanted me gone, so she wholeheartedly agreed. As I got up to leave, she started to ask me when I could teach her how to do the daily reports. I told her that I was sorry, but I was not scheduled to work for the next 2 weeks. In fact, I wasn't scheduled at all. You are not allowed to change an employee's schedule after they give their 2 weeks. Her face blanched, and she realized she had screwed herself. I could report her to upper management for all the things she was pulling, more than mentioned here. She was stuck. I walked out of there feeling free. Later, I found out from the assistant manager that the store had gone down after I left. Apparently, idiot wasn't really friendly, nor was she good at customer service. People used to come into the store specifically to talk to me, and then they would buy something for wasting my time. Sales went down. She started letting people go, and sales kept going down. She didn't do the daily reports for so long that someone from corporate had to come and do them for her. I found out in January, 5 months later, that the corporate office decided to close the location. She was out of a job, and they weren't looking to hire her back into the company. I don't know what happened to idiot after that. The next story is called, Embarrass Us in Front of the Whole Company? Let me set the scene. It's April 2016. The company has received its customer service scores for the last 12 months, and it's mostly good, bar one department which is just below the expected level set by the company. Unfortunately, I work in that department. Now, this was anticipated by just about everyone in our department because the overwhelming majority of our queries and complaints pertains to the cost of the work we do. A cost decided by the finance department, who are completely separate to us and aren't customer-facing, so don't have to deal with the issues caused by these costs. The results are announced on our internal website, with a small note from the head of the customer service. Reading the message, it's clear she is very happy with the results until she reaches ours. Now I'm not going to post what she said, as it would be very clear who I am if someone from work was to read this. In fact, they will probably be able to tell anyway, but let's just say it was incredibly unprofessional and threw us completely under the bus in front of the entire company. Our manager invites her to come and spend a day with us to see what we are up against. But she declines. This made me mad because I see how hard our guys work every single day and she's going to treat them like that? I'm a sucker for holding a grudge. Now it's 2018, she's blown over 100,000 trying to increase our satisfaction scores by investing it in the wrong areas, ignoring the real problem which remains the price. In fact, they increased them earlier in the year. Rather than take the blame herself, she puts it on her team and somehow gets away with it. It gets to the point where she needs some results and has an idea, but it involves giving us more work on top of our already ridiculous workloads. In fact, by doing what she wanted, we'd be slower at completing the rest of our work, which would only have a negative impact on our scores. But she doesn't seem to get this. Needless to say, it fails. Who gets the blame? Not her. At this point, she has no idea I read that note 2 years ago and certainly wouldn't expect me to have remembered it for this long. As I say, I'm a sucker for holding a grudge. She calls to speak to my manager, but I'm covering. She needs us to come up with an idea that she can put to the board of directors 2 weeks after the call, but she's going on holiday for 10 days and won't be able to look into an idea herself. I see what is happening. I come up with an idea and if successful, she takes the credit. If it fails, I take the blame. I told her that it isn't my responsibility. But she insists. If my manager isn't about, I'm going to need to take this on apparently. I'll leave this in your hands. You email me, but only when you've come up with something you think will work and we'll go over it. No deadline, even though I know there is one. But she just said when I come up with something I think will work. I can do that. She comes back from holiday, I've taken a fortnight off. I've only been off for 2 days and won't be back for another 12. I come back to work to find out she messed up in her meeting with the board because she didn't even have half an idea, let alone one that would work. She makes contact with me, asks me what I am playing at and why I didn't do as she asked. I said I hadn't come up with an idea I thought would work yet. She tells me that there was a deadline, but I let her know that she hadn't told me that, just to offer my idea when I thought I'd found one that would work, which I still hadn't. I was doing exactly what she asked. The board were obviously mad, revisited the situation with the 100,000 where her team practically threw her under the bus as she had with my department, and then when the 100,000 investment went wrong. She's got a review with the board this week and I've heard through the grapevine that she is freaking out about being removed from her job role. Thankfully, not being sacked but no longer being in a position where she can cause trouble for people when she doesn't perform. Beautiful. The last story is called, You Told Us To. I work for a company that provides people who work in food service roles to other businesses. Basically, if, for example, McDonald's does not want to hire people to work for them directly, then they would hire my company to bring in to work in McDonald's. This way the people are on my company's payroll and not McDonald's. My company has me and my supervisor working inside a small convenience store-like area in a college campus. We have coffee, ready-made sandwiches that are delivered to us every day, and even soup available to the students. Now for our area, we get the same kids coming in every day since we are their only food source besides a vending machine within walking distance. So, my supervisor and I quickly figure out how much the kids will eat what and make our order accordingly. Of course, there is some fluctuation in what is consumed. But we are fairly accurate on ordering, so there is not much food waste. One day, the director, who is our manager's boss, decided that we don't have enough sandwiches in our fridges for the kids to eat. He was the one who told us before to try to keep wasted sandwiches as low as possible. Now he tells my supervisor to double the number of sandwiches ordered so the shelves look full, so we can sell more. We try to tell him that by doing so, the number of sandwiches that will expire and therefore be wasted will dramatically increase, which means that we will be losing more money. He tells us to do it anyways and that it will be fine. So my supervisor shrugs her shoulders and does it. In the next few days, the increased amount of food start to show up and the fridge is full. We stuff it more full than a pickle jar and we still have extra left over. So, all we can do is put the extra in the back fridge that we use to store extra drinks and food that have to stay refrigerated. Despite the assurance that it will be fine, all was not. The extra food piled up quickly, and due to the way the sandwiches are made, we are not allowed to keep them longer than 2 days. Food waste soars as the kids, despite having a full fridge of extra sandwiches to choose from, in fact, did not buy all that food. Any extra that may have been bought did not offset the money wasted from the expired food. Usually, when we ordered food there were no more than 10 sandwiches left over by the end of the day. Those left over would be bought usually before the next day's shipment came in, so we had normally very little that expired on us. Due to the increase of sandwiches, we now were dealing with close to 20 to 30 expired sandwiches a day. This went on for 2 weeks. The next time the director showed up, he had his boss, the head director, with him along with other people high up in the corporate chain. They showed up when I was working alone, and it seemed the director was giving the other higher-ups a tour of our area since he didn't even acknowledge that I was there. This didn't bother me since I know the ways of higher-ups, and when they are discussing business, counter-monkeys like me are less than invisible. I don't really care for this director since he is too hands-on and acts like only he knows what he is doing while giving out orders that tend to contradict other orders that he gives. Yet when we try to communicate with him about rules or concerns, it is a one-way street. He also tends to make promises that never happen, which ticks off a lot of people under him. So as he is talking to the higher-ups, he suddenly calls out to me, "Hey, why do you have so many sandwiches left over and wasted from the last 2 weeks?" Knowing that things would end up bad for me later if I outright threw him under the bus with his bosses present, I decided to try to be tactful and give him a chance to change the subject. "We were told to double up on the sandwich orders, sir." I respectfully say. "The other bosses stopped talking and are paying attention to our conversation now." The director put his hands on his hips and leveled a squint at me. "Well, who told you to do that?" he demanded in a huff, while puffing his chest like a banty rooster. Without batting an eye, I answer him like the good little employee that I am and without any maliciousness at all. "You told us to." His eyes widen and he repeats back, "Questionable, I told you to." Nodding, I chirp back, "Yes, sir. 2 weeks ago." He sputters for a bit and hastily leads the bosses to another area under his control. When I knew they were gone, I let myself have a good laugh. I savored the fact that he did this to himself in front of his bosses, and the first chance I got, I told my supervisor. She also had a hearty laugh over it. Within the next couple of days, we were allowed to order sandwiches the way we normally did. Thanks for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please consider subscribing to the channel for more content. Let me know what you think about the stories in the comment section below. Have a great day. Bye bye.